Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Spinistry Live. I am your race host, Kevin Lee. And today we're going over the Kantdu, Kansas routes overviews for all of the routes this coming weekend and the overview of our hosting facility / area and staging area and all that good stuff. This is presently making sure it's working, and it does seem to be. This is presently the Facebook Live version. The plan is to actually, once I'm done with the live version, download that and edit it some and take out some of the ums and ahs and stutters and dead air or things I misspeak about, and potentially come up with a shorter version that really hits the most important parts. The way I plan to start this off is to go over the staging area, which is common for all of the distances. We'll talk a little bit about how we plan to organize the start shoot times and things like that, the whys and the wherefores, and make sure everybody's up to speed on the basics that are universal for everybody that's participating. We'll go into the individual routes themselves. I'm going to go ahead and go to the 200-mile A loop. And first we'll start with the staging area and how we expect everything to work and what's happening between Thursday afternoon, which is when I'm recording this, and Saturday morning when people start riding. So let me zoom in on the staging area. This is the same staging area for all of the distances. It's basically the intersection of Forest Road 920 and Old Decatur Road, and that is basically northwest of Decatur. And this will be the Caddo National Grasslands, Lbj Grasslands. What I want to point out is one of the reasons we're using this, and all of these specific segments don't necessarily show up on this map, is this is Forest Service land. This is National Grasslands. These are public access areas for hiking and bicycling, hunting even. There's a lot of equestrians that use trails out there. And it also includes free dispersed camping, which is a rarity in Texas. There's lots of dispersed camping once you get out west, BLM lands, national forests, things like that. We have very limited dispersed camping available in Texas. This is in North Texas. This is one of the very few spots that it is available. But and we'll go over some of what I think are some of the best camping areas that are kind of highlighted on the map already. But one thing I want to point out is this isn't all continuous national grasslands. It's patches of it mixed in with private property and things like that. As we go over the individual routes, we'll talk about some of the better spots that might work out for different people if they want to camp Friday or Saturday night or both, and also how it applies to the staging area. The staging area itself can definitely be used as a camping spot, and that's where I plan to be staying Friday and Saturday nights myself. Let's go ahead and go to the satellite overview. Plenty of area for people to park as they're coming in at different times throughout the day on Saturday to meet their shoot times and things like that. Most likely, I'm thinking we'll probably have the Spinistry trailer set up around here, most likely, with the idea for everyone to park up around this area. Please don't park in the middle of the road. Also, please be aware, a main focus of this is for us to test some social distancing and COVID-19 appropriate structures for down the road as things potentially open up some more. We don't have any political agendas or anything along those lines. We're just being very cautious and taking a rather safe than sorry type of approach to those. And quite frankly, the biggest thing this is an experiment of is if we can lay out some basic ground rules for our events to operate under for everyone's safety. We need to be able to see if it's realistic to expect the participants to follow along with those guidelines. Some of the basic things we're sticking to is there will be This will be no contact check-in. We're only taking pre-registrations. When people come up immediately prior to their start shoot time, we'll assign them their number. It'll be available for people to pick up on, on a self-service basis from a sanitary area. We'll wipe that area down after each start group goes through, and we'll have people in line for their 15-minute start period to maintain spacing. And once the ride starts, no drafting. If you are there with somebody that's in your own household or something like that, and you want to ride along together, that's perfectly fine. But do ride along side by side. Please don't. We don't want anybody working in groups or setting up a pace line or anything along those lines. If you are a faster rider coming up on a slower rider, please don't ride their wheel. Announce that you're passing and give everybody plenty of room. The way the route's structured, people are going to get a really good idea of who's close to them on a very regular basis. So there shouldn't be any surprises if somebody's coming up from behind or anything like that. We will not be providing any aid stations because no community contact is available for any sort of, this is a club ride. This is, and it's not even a club ride per se. This is for club members to get their own individual practices in. We're just giving you a suggested route to follow and providing timing for your own, for your own measurement purposes against people that are riding the same route. The shorter routes, the 50K and the 100K, the routes will be marked. 100-mile and 200-mile, those will require self-navigation. So the idea is we'll have our overnight Spinistry camper trailer set up in here somewhere, most likely. That'll be the check-in and the timing area. There will not be any restrooms here. If you need restroom facilities, we definitely recommend bringing your own luggable loo or something along those lines. We're not bringing in porta-johns. There's no way to maintain proper sanitation with those currently, and there are no facilities at this staging area. If you need to go off in the woods and do your own thing, please practice proper disposal techniques and cat holes and things like that. We would prefer that that's not even done. There's no amenities or support along the route. There are a couple of spots where vault toilets are available at different areas, but to the best of my knowledge, no running water. That said, if you want to drop off your own water or resupply along the route, you're welcome to do that. And we'll have cones set up so that everybody that arrives for their shoot time stands in line at least 6 feet apart and waits for us to send them on their way. And the idea will be to go by the timing arch, or the timing rig, I should say. We're not using the arch. We're using what we call our side shooter for this one. You'll go by the timing rig. It'll record your first time, and then you'll go out and do the course. So it records your start time, and then when you finish, it will record your finish time as well. You'll come by the same spot each time. 200-milers will come by this spot multiple times because this staging area is also in the midpoint for 200-milers. We'll go into a little bit more detail on that in a bit. It is very important for people to not gather around and socialize prior to or after the event as well. This is not intended to be a social gathering hangout prior to the start of the ride or once you finish. You are definitely welcome to camp in the area and set up your own camping. All right, so here's the 50K, the black area. That's the 50K isolated. Here's the 100K isolated. Here's the 200-mile A loop, which actually is basically the same as the 200-mile B loop. 200-miler will do the same route, but they'll just do it in different directions. And so that's what we'll start on now. We'll start on the 200-miler and their A loop. So 200-milers will actually do the 100-mile backwards, so to speak, from what the 100-mile riders will be doing. when they go out. So 100 milers and 200 milers will not be on the same route at the same time, but they will meet roughly at the halfway point, sort of thing. We think there's a little bit of an additional safety margin in there if something does happen to somebody along the way. No matter what distance they're going to realistically come across other riders or have other riders come across them throughout the day, sort of thing, no matter what distance they're riding. So the 200 milers will check in. We'll go back to the satellite view. We'll check in wherever we find our exact spot for check-in, and you won't be able to miss the black Spinistry camper trailer. It will also have all the cones and tables and everything out like that. So everyone else will start off down this dirt road and basically go to the southwest. 200 milers will start out and start on this paved road and go north. And that reminds me of what I had forgotten that I wanted to touch on. This is extremely important. Everybody's start chute is assigned for a certain 15-minute window. And it's really important for people to be on time, and it's really important, but it's really important for you to not plan to check in an hour early or anything like that. So basically, you'll be able to check in the 15 minutes prior to your shoot time. Now, obviously, you can get there an hour ahead of time and get ready, sip your coffee and things like that, but you won't be able to pick up your number until 15 minutes prior to your start time. Basically, as the other shoot group prior to yours is going out and hitting the timing station, we'll be able to check in people for the next 15-minute time frame and send them on their way at their proper shoot time. So it's really important for you to check in and pick up your number within 15 minutes prior to your scheduled shoot time, and we'll tell you at what point during that 15-minute shoot time window that for you to actually start. So that's where we'll have the cones set up at the 6-foot spacing. Basically, you'll stand at your cone, spaced apart for sometime during that 15 minutes, and we'll say rider 500 go on out or whatever, and that's the current plan for that structure. So it's really important for people to check in when they're supposed to. If you come by too early to check in, your number's not going to be available to pick up. We're going to be full-time busy from 6:45 to whenever the last rider leaves. And so we're going to be constant, nonstop, assigning numbers and sending people out at their appropriate shoot time. So please do show up when you're supposed to, and we'll take it from there. Going back to the 200 miler and their first lap, and a lot of the spots we talk about for this will also apply to the other riders as well. There's only a few sections where the 200 milers and 100 milers totally deviate from the 100K, for example. Almost anywhere you see these cameras, this is essentially, with some minor variations, the same routes that we put out for our Lbj Grasslands solo self-adventure sort of things. Again, encouraging people to check out dispersed camping. Basically, anywhere that you see these camera icons, that is part of the grasslands. And it is not a requirement for people to take pictures at these particular spots or anything like that. What ends up happening is many of these spots are also probably going to be pretty decent camping areas, but some of them might be busier than others, sort of thing. We'll touch on each of those individually along the way. This was also intended when I laid out the map originally that if we did some sort of virtual thing where people went out and did this route on a competitive basis anytime throughout the year, or, we might want pictures at certain spots just to verify that they got there. You're welcome to take pictures. If you're wanting an official time and you want some bragging rights or something like that, it is probably best to record on Strava or ride with GPS just to provide some sort of backup that you did the route accurately and things like that if anyone else asks questions. We're not going to be policing that ourselves. We will be posting times. We set up the route originally going clockwise. We wanted one last little dirt section. It's still a neat little section, but you're going to see that we have a lot of out and backs, particularly in the grasslands areas, the forest roads and things like that. Most of those don't go through. There's only a few that go all the way through. So most of it's out and back. If you're using a Garmin device, be aware of how Garmin sometimes gets confused if you're backtracking or going over the same route multiple times or the same spot multiple times. I highly recommend looking the route over on the maps ahead of time. Get familiar with it that way. If you're using a Garmin and you know how that the crossovers sometimes mess up the auto routing, rerouting, and things like that, maybe make some notes to yourself, tape them to the top tube. I've seen people do that. Wahoo and Ride with GPS both seem to handle those types of reversals and overlaps better than Garmin for some reason. I do believe there's a setting on Garmin's that have an issue with that make that better, but I'm not even going to pretend to be able to explain how that works specifically. So, this is a fairly close area where it's part of the grasslands. It's dispersed camping. If you see that, it's close to the staging area, but if you don't want to be right where the staging area is, you get done with your ride at the end of the day, you can ride up here and pitch a tent. I think there's some other spots along the way that are better for that, though. So the way the route works for the 200 milers, they'll come up here. This Black Creek Lake recreation area, this is just recently reopened. This is one of two actual real deal camping areas in the grasslands. There is a vault toilet facility there. There's paid camping available here as well, but there's no hookups, and I don't believe there's any water. I don't know for certain because I haven't been down this road this year because this has been closed off because of the COVID-19 stuff until just the past week or so, and I haven't been there since it reopened. I'll be there tomorrow. I'll try to verify if water might be available there. I don't have any expectations of water being available anywhere on the route, and I would say plan accordingly. Now, if I find out differently, I'll get the word out along those lines. So then it's an out and back to the Black Creek area. You get a nice little lake view there, and then you'll go into this Lbj Grasslands area. This is a really cool overview spot as well. Some really good camping along here, but realistically, the best spots, because there's just you're kind of up on a high point here, overlooking some pretty cool views, but a lot of those spots get taken up pretty early. I don't know what it'll be like out there this weekend. There's definitely been more camping out at the grasslands this year than in the past. Just because of limited overnights and for state parks and things like that. So more people have been using the grasslands and just people wanting to do stuff that they could do. And so the grasslands have been getting more use than usual, that's for certain, but it isn't anything that that's still pretty wide open. We'll leave it at that. So a little bit of an out and back section in here. Now you'll see that there's some other roads that we're not using. This is gated off presently. If you feel adventurous and want to explore, check out anything you want to along the way. We highly encourage that. Actually, the 50K riders will be doing this loop on an exploration basis, so I'm looking forward to getting their feedback on that. We have a couple of other lake areas here, Cottonwood Lake and Little Cottonwood Lake. Cool camping spots there. So the 200 milers will go out this way. They'll catch a little bit of county road action. And then down here is, check out the Cottonwood Cemetery if you get a chance. It's a pretty cool old cemetery. And then this is a little desolate area with a Conservation Lake overview. There's a little camping spot tucked in here behind a mud hole. Usually that one's almost always taken up. Basically, you have the whole pond or lake or whatever you want to call it to yourself. That said, there's plenty of little pull-in spots all down this dirt road. If that's already taken, if you wanted to camp back in there, that's not a horrible spot. I think there's still some better ones to that. And you'll come back out and double back again on some of your route. And here's another little out and back section. Interesting little road. It's got actually a nice little, you can climb up this overview here. Then we're back on county roads. This is not Grasslands area, but it's a neat paved county road through here. Got some windiness, some up and down, some canopy. It's really pretty through there. Then back in here is another little hidey hole. And Troy's wet hole. I've been down here a couple times. I've never seen anyone back here. So that's a good camp spot. Trying to think, did I miss my? Oh, I missed. No. Oh, this was it. I'm sorry. This is a good spot here. This is where I camped a few weeks ago. I don't actually have it marked here. I'll update the map to reflect that. But I camped right here in this spot, and I thought that was a pretty decent little camping spot there next to that soil conservation pond. So set up camp here. There's actually a trail that goes through here and up through here. Nice little overview of the lake. Nice private setting. So that was a good little camping spot there. And I'll update the maps to put a camping area there. And just more of the same. So basically, that's the ins and outs of how the route works. Here's another real deal camping area with vault toilets. Again, I don't think there's water there, but it's possible there was water that was turned off for COVID-19. The Valley View group use facility. We'll probably do a Spinistry Palooza type something out here someday as pieces come back together. Camped out here with some friends a couple weeks ago. We had the whole area to ourselves. Restrooms weren't open at the time or anything like that, but restrooms are supposed to be open. But once the restrooms are back open, this is a fee area now. All the other spots, except for that Black Creek Lake, that's a fee area. But everything else I've shown you so far are free camping areas. So there's only a couple of fee areas. Basically, if there's toilets there, it's a fee area, is the way it works. Anywhere else in the grasslands, you're welcome to camp wherever you want to. When you're in the grasslands parcels, you go through some green gates and it's a Forest Service road and things like that. There's usually signage that reflects it. So it's all, it'll be different from when you're on the county roads and private land areas. And we don't ride through any private land areas per se, just regular county dirt roads that go by private parcels. And this is an example of that. After you leave the Valley View area, this is a really neat section here, actually. And the 100-miler, the 100K, they both go through here. The 100K doesn't go up and do this alternate Y, but both the 100-milers and 200-milers go up in here. There's some really neat little private camping areas in here, but this road along here has a couple of really sweet camping spots. A little creek area with a stand of pine trees. It's really odd. A stand of pine trees in the middle of this that there's no other pine stands around in the area that I know of. Now this northwest section here, this is all county roads, dirt roads. So this is not grasslands area, but there's some really cool dirt roads back in here. And there's some others I want to check out further out for other stuff down the road. 100K riders will do this loop. 100-miler and 200-milers will do this loop and this extension off to the northwest as well. Brushy Creek Vineyards, there's a Vineyards there. And where was the other one? Yeah, Marker Cellars Family Winery. Haven't been to either one of those. Originally, I had this as a stopover spot to take a picture and stuff like that, but the winery wasn't open. I don't know the status of it now, but this is a short little dirt road section here that goes through some grasslands area here. So we just mixed up the route a little bit to get another dirt road extension. Neat little windy terrain area here. And then this is a neat section. Very popular camping spot here on the back side of the Black Creek Lake. More than likely, that'll be full as far as camping goes. But that's a good spot as well. And then finally, again, this is the 200-milers doing this first lap backwards. Then we have the Clear Lake, and you do out and backs onto 3 sides of the Clear Lake reservoir. That's a nice camping spot there. These are all 3 really nice camping spots. I've never been, there's a fishing pier on this one, and I've never been here where there weren't people already camping at this. I've been here where this was open and this is open. And that's all fairly close to the staging area as well. So if you come up Friday during the day, there's a good chance you could get a nice camp spot at Clear Lake at any of those 3 fingers. So you'll do an out and back here, out and back here, out and back here. And then the 200-milers will come back to the staging area, resupply, do what you need to. And when you come in, go by the timing arch then. Go to your vehicle, do what you need to. And then you'll come back out and go the opposite direction and start the 200-milers at that time will do the 100-mile loop. And we basically went over that already, just backwards form. So 100-milers will start after the 200-milers start in the morning. And while the 200-milers will be going off this way, the 100-milers will be going this way. And the 100-milers will catch Clear Lake at the beginning, and they'll catch this little final dirt route loop at the end. So 100-milers, exactly the same thing as we just showed you for the 200-mile loop, but backwards. 200-milers, you'll do that same loop as your second lap. Hopefully that's clear as mud there. 100K, we'll go over yours. You'll start out the same direction as the 100-milers, where you'll catch Clear Lake at the 3 fingers of Clear Lake at the beginning. You'll go out here, really neat dirt roads section there. You'll do this loop. Basically you're going down into the Denton Creek Valley here. This is a really interesting loop. Then you'll come back, go by that Valley View group use facility there. Excuse me, let me get a swallow of water. And then the 100K riders will come back through. This is probably our longest continuous dirt road section. I do have you guys doing a little bit of a loop around at that High Point camping area, and then going back out into the main road, go back to the Black Creek Reservoir main side, and then finish up with that little dirt loop. That's the 100K route. 50K route, obviously a shorter distance, but you're getting some of the best spots, starting out with the 3 fingers of Clear Lake here, And then you'll catch the backside of Black Creek Lake, just like everyone else. Here's where the 50Ks have their own little slight deviation, and they pick up something that's their own. And all the other riders will go up this way, up 2475. 50K riders will go into the backside of the Tadra trailhead area. There is a gate here. It's a Forest Service gate. Shouldn't be any problem to put the bike on. You may even be able to go around it. I'm not certain about that on a bicycle. I know I couldn't get around it in a Jeep. But if nothing else, you can lift the bike over sort of thing and straddle the gate. That won't be a big deal. And then I have 50K riders. This gate you can go around. I have you guys going off and doing this big loop here. This is brand new to me. I haven't had a chance to, because this has all been closed. It may be open tomorrow now that COVID-19 stuff's done. I'm not exactly certain. So I'm obviously going to check it out tomorrow if I can. But 50K riders may get some adventure out of this. It looks like really good dirt roads, though. So I don't think I'm sending you anywhere crazy. And then 50K riders, you'll go all the way out past the Cottonwood Lakes and Little Cottonwood Lake out to the dirt road, and that'll be your turnaround spot. And we'll have a downward arrow with 50 on it or something like that to reinforce that that's where you turn around. And then 50K riders will come back and they'll finish the same way as everyone else. Do the little loop around the High Point campground, come out here, catch the main camping area for Black Creek Lake, and then the last little loop, and again finish at the Spinistry trailer there.